Alrighty, cool. So yes, I wanted to talk to you now about this project called Young People's Climate Superpowers that I was involved with last year, and it's sort of evolved into an ongoing body of work. It is led, well, yeah, it was led by myself, but also Dr. Kati Marinkovic, who's a colleague of mine in the School of Population and Global Health, who it really is an expert in participatory research with children and young people. So I learnt a lot through the process of doing this project. It was my first time doing co-design with young people. And so, yeah, I'm excited to share some of what I learnt with you today. Just adding to my earlier acknowledgement of country, I just wanted to note as well the incredible leadership that First Nations young people have been demonstrating in the climate change space within Australia and around the world. So basically this Climate Superpowers project was the process of producing the website called Climate Superpowers, or you can find it at climatesuperpowers.org. And the problem that we were trying to address with this project is relating to the fact that, as I think all of us are probably aware, children and young people are increasingly feeling anxious and powerless, sad and angry about climate change. And they're also among the most affected and stand to be most affected in future, as well as being at the forefront of a lot of climate action. But despite all of that, there are real challenges that persist in terms of making adults listen to children and young people's voices on this issue. And also in terms of resources available to support children and young people, there are increasingly a few resources that are about kind of eco-anxiety in this age group and things like that. But most of the time they are made by adult experts and often for other adults, so for parents or teachers or other adults who are concerned about the children in their lives. And there's very little out there that's actually created both for and with children and young people. So that's what we wanted to do with this project. We wanted to support children and young people to share their wisdom and creativity in dealing with climate change, and also provide a way of connecting children and young people with each other and with researchers and other adults who are concerned about this issue and want to take a strengths-based approach. Because that was the approach that we took. It was a strength-based approach and also a participatory or co-design approach. And we worked with children and young people in Victoria. So the process was that we ran 5 workshops, and in the end there were 31 children and young people aged between 12 and 25 who participated in those workshops. We also had an opportunity for another 50 or so young people to share their ideas through a forum that was organised by the Youth Advisory Committee of local government in Melbourne. And so we got broader input through that process as well. And really the workshops and that forum, what we were discussing was, what did the children and young people think about the strengths and resources that they have and that other young people have that they can draw on in navigating the challenges around climate change? And also, what would they want in a resource that was really about that in terms of content and design? So in terms of principles, what we heard through the workshops was that the resource should be sustainable, and basically that meant that it shouldn't negatively impact the environment through this process. And so it was a website we collectively decided, and the young people definitely wanted it to be in that digital format. And also we were able to do it in a way that was powered by renewable energy in terms of the hosting of the website. They also told us that the resource needed to be empowering, really to be focused on making young people feel capable of making a difference and identifying and developing their strengths. It should be inclusive of a diverse range of young people in terms of their backgrounds and experiences, skills, interests, and that kind of meant that it should be able to be used in a flexible way to allow young people to kind of choose their own adventure with how they used it. It should be youth-focused and participatory, so developed with meaningful input from children and young people rather than a tokenistic approach. It should also be transparent about how the resource was produced, like where the funding came from, all of that kind of thing. And it was really important that it should be engaging for young people. So that meant things like having appealing artwork and interactive elements. And the children and young people also told us sort of specific stories about their experiences around climate change and the strengths that they have, the strengths that they've seen that their friends or siblings, classmates have. They also talked about public figures like Greta Thunberg. She came up a lot. And to organise these strengths and experiences to kind of structure the website, we drew on a framework that we ended up calling this the Climate Superpowers framework, but the original kind of inspiration that we kind of proposed and kind of, we were asking the young people in the workshops whether they liked this framework of these 7 categories. It comes originally from a community capitals framework from the community development space. And one thing that we heard from the young people was that the term capitals or the idea of capitals didn't resonate. So they decided instead that the word superpowers would work well. So we've got these 7 superpowers: human, social, natural, political, built, cultural, and financial. The website also, includes this artwork that you've been seeing on these slides, and the young people really guided the development of that artwork as well as the format for the website. So just in terms of the artwork, what we did was we shortlisted, we sort of just, when I say we, this is myself and my colleague Kati. We looked around to find a shortlist of about 8 artists that were mostly young people themselves to take to the final workshop for the young co-designers to choose from, basically, who they wanted to engage to create the artwork for the website. And they selected Abigail or Tufong Nguyen, and she's, we're just completely stoked with how the artwork has turned out. And that was a really integral part of the whole process of the kind of drawing on what the young people had told us about their experiences during the workshops and the back and forth between the artists and the young people to create the visuals. So the result is this website called Climate Superpowers, and basically how it works is that people go on there and they're prompted to first take a quiz to find out about their climate superpowers based on their their interests and skills and how they kind of like to engage around climate change. And then they find out what their strongest climate superpower or superpowers are, and they also see a breakdown of the sort of spread across all of the 7 superpowers based on their answers to the quiz. And then they get prompted to take on actions using those superpowers. So there are actions on the website for learning about climate change, taking action in everyday life, and transforming society actions, as well as actions for self-care. And these are all based on stories and ideas that the young people shared during the workshops. We also set up an Instagram account on the urging of the young co-designers. And the website was launched at an event in October 2022 that we had at the University of Melbourne, which included a panel discussion with a handful of the young co-designers as well as the artists. And that was a really wonderful event, and great to see, how proud many of them were of what had come out of the process. And since then, it's also been really lovely to see that sort of sense of ownership continue in how the young people, the young co-designers have shared the website. So here's a photo of a few of them at a stall at a sort of sustainability event at another school. One of them was able to get the website profiled in their local MP's newsletter. There was a TikTok event that was actually created by a student at the University of Melbourne who wasn't one of the original co-designers, but we were really happy when that came out because people had kept telling us that that was, you know, TikTok videos are an important way of engaging with young people, and we were absolutely not up to making one ourselves. So that's been great. And when I last looked, there'd been about 5,000 website visits and 2,000 quiz completions. There was a conversation article that was really well received. The website's been featured, I believe, in sustainability in schools policy that the Victorian Department of Education is meant to be releasing this month, I think. Yeah, basically we're building this into a broader body of work, including now shifting a focus to developing resources to help teachers in schools and also universities kind of draw on the website in their in classrooms, because we'd heard from a lot of them that they were interested in doing that, but being really time poor, there was a sort of appetite for resources to help bridge that gap. So thank you very much, and those are my contact details. All right.